Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. In today's tutorial you're going to be learning how to make a corset with a yoke. It's very simple and easy to learn. If this is what you love to learn, please stay tuned until the end of this tutorial. Now we are going to start by marking out the shoulder line, which is going to serve as our baseline. If you have been following my tutorial, you should know that this is a routine when it comes to my drafting on the paper. So from there we are going to start inserting the vertical measurement, and I have my bust point to be 11 inches and the waistline to be 17 inches, and the length is going to be 22 inches. So I went ahead to connect the lines, and from there you have to go from your shoulder line again, extend your tape downward and measure out your chest line, or you could go ahead from the bust point and come up by 2 inches, and then you get your chest line. But for the sake of this tutorial, I made use of bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5. Okay, so after that you have to divide your shoulder into two, mark whatever you have there plus 1 inch for seam allowance, and then you go ahead and connect your markings. Now after that, you go ahead and impute your neck measurement. So for my front neckline, I have 3 inches depth and 3 inches width, and for the back neck I'll be making use of 1.5 inches depth and the same as the front width. Okay, now from the shoulder line, come down by 1 inch and connect that into the neckline, and from there we label our lines. I have the chest line there, the bust points, waist points, and then the length of my blouse. Okay, well, now at this point I figured out that I didn't insert the under bust point before, so I actually inserted it now and then labeled it under bust. Okay, so from here we are going to have to insert all our round measurements. So to the chest line, divide your bust measurement by 4, and then plus half an inch for the ease around the armhole. Okay, do this for all your circumference, insert it, and now to the length, what you're going to insert there is your hip circumference divided by 4 inches. Okay, once you're done with that, go ahead and connect all your lines. All right, so after this you're going to go ahead on the line in between the slope, your shoulder slope and your chest line, divide this by 2. Okay, once you divide it by 2, go in by half an inch and then create your armhole curve. Now we are going to move over to the main thing. Okay, so we start creating our bustier. So to create your bustier, you have to use your bust span measurements. Okay, for me I have 8 inches divided by 2, I have 4. So from the fold, come in by 4 inches and extend this down to the length of your blouse. Okay, so now to for our under bust tightening, we are going to be making use of 1 inch on both sides. So insert this 1 inch on both sides all the way to the length of your blouse, and then rule out the line. Okay, so from the bust point I'm going to come down by 1 inch, and that will be where I'm going to connect this using my curved ruler, as you can see me doing like this. Okay, so once I'm done connecting this, I'm going to go ahead and measure my shoulder slope into 2. Okay, divide it into 2 and then connect it down to the bust points. All right, now we have successfully created our uh basic body block and then our bustier. So we are going to have to modify this and then create our corset cup. Now to do this, you have to measure what you have in between your bust point and your under bust, and mine I have it to be 3 inches. So you have to mark it all around as you can see me doing like this, and then we start creating our corset. Okay, so for the upper chest tightening, you have to come in by 1 inch, okay, on both ways. So I'm going to come in by 1 inch in and out, and then connect this mark your line to the bust point, making use of your curved ruler. Please don't make use of a straight ruler, because you don't want any sort of sharp curve to affect your cup. All right, so from there you're going to have to, from the fold, okay, on the bust point line, go up by 1.5 inches, and then come in from the fold by half an inch. Okay, this is to create this sort of space in between your corset cup, okay, that falls in between your cleavage. All right, so we are making use of half an inch because by the time we are cutting on fold, by the time we open this up, we are going to have 1 inch on that space. Okay, so from there you are going to have to determine how you want your corset to look on the upper part. Okay, so to avoid any kind of gaping, you have to come in by half an inch in and out again. Okay, and this is what you can see me doing, and then you connect down to your bust point again. All right, so now to determine the type of neckline you want, it all depends on your preference. Whatever type of neckline you want, this is where when to impute that. So for me, I made use of a sweetheart neckline, and I don't really want my cleavage to show that much. That's why I made my own very very not too curvy. Okay, so now from the chest line, you're going to have to come down by half an inch again, and then you connect the side cup to that line. Okay, so even if you can't understand me, please glue your eye to this screen and surely you're going to get my point. All right, so connect the lines, and then from there we are going to have to connect from the under bust point to the half inch that we came in from the center front. Okay, so and then because our chest is fuller on the side, you have to, from the 3 inches on the side bust, come out by 1 inch again, and then connect it back to the under bust point as you can see me doing like this. Okay, but then you have to connect it to the half inch that you came down from the chest line, and then down to the under bust. Okay, if I'm making sense, because I don't know if you're able to understand me, but if you don't, at least my demonstration can show you whatever I am trying to explain. Okay, so you guys, you can see that our corset is coming to life. I always seems to be happy whenever I am getting whatever I'm trying to pass on to you guys. Okay, so now we have to replace all the dots that we took out. Okay, and from the chest line, you measure out what you have taken out from there, and on this one we took out 3 inches, so you're going to have to replace 3 inches on the chest line, and then measure out what you took out on the from the under bust. From the under bust you took out 2 inches, you replaced that, and then on the hip, that is the length of my blouse, you place whatever you took out again, and now go ahead and connect all the lines. So after you connect this line, you have to input your seam allowance, that is your sewing allowance, and I'm making use of 2 inches for this. Okay, so go ahead and input that, and then connect your lines again. Okay, so this is it for our corset. You're going to have to make use of your curve ruler to connect this line, because you don't want any sort of sharp curve. All right, I always emphasize on this. Please, once you finish making use of your straight ruler, go ahead and use your curve ruler and okay, create that line perfectly well, because you don't want any sort of sharp curve. Okay, now don't forget to add up your shoulder seam allowance. All right, now this is what I actually inserted right now on the upper part, and from there I went down to the down part and added my folding allowance. Okay, and there I made use of 1.5 inches. I use 1.5 inches for just a reason. Okay, you can make use of 1 inch, you can equally make use of half an inch, it depends on what you want, but I wanted my blouse to go down a little. That's why I decided to make use of 1.5 inches. Okay, so this is it for the front block. We're going to go ahead and cut it out, and from there we cut out the back block. All right, so pay attention to how I'm cutting this out. You can see I've cut out the yoke, and from there I would go ahead and cut out my cup, as you can see. But before that, you have to label all your markings so that you won't get yourself confused. I figured out that on the previous making of my corset, if you don't label all these, you're going to run into issues of confusing yourself, because by the time you cut this out, they're going to look alike. Okay, and you don't want that. So go ahead and mark it out. You can see I have my number 1, 2, 3, and 4, and my number 1 is the center front. Okay, number 2 is my cup, and number 3 is my cup as well, and this is the yoke. Okay, so going to the back block. Okay, I've already drafted out the basic bodies, which I did previously on the front block. Okay, they're all the same. The difference is that I don't have the front neckline here, and the corset cup I won't be having it here. Okay, so also I have my vertical measurement the same, every other thing is just the same. Okay, right here, and the my all my round measurements are also the same. Now I will start inputting my bust span measurement, because we are going to still use it. Okay, the only difference is that we are not going to be creating that curve. All right, so insert your bust span measurement, which is 4 inches, and then draw out your line. Now after you must have drawn out your line, okay, we know that our dart for the back usually starts 1 inch below the chest line. So that is what I tried ruling out now. Okay, and then from the on the waistline, you're going to have to come in and out by 1 inch, and then connect this line down to the length of your blouse. Okay, and to the chest line. Okay, you can see if I'm making sense. Okay, so that would be our dart for the back. Okay, now next is to replace all these our darts. Okay, you have to replace it back, and then but before that, it depends on the type of neckline that you want. If you want your neck to come down, you do that, and whatever, that is what I'm trying to demonstrate there. But then on the waistline, go ahead and replace that 2 inches that you taked in for your dart, replace it and connect it back to your lines. Okay, and from there, after that, you input your seam allowance, that is for the stitching allowance, replace it back. And now you guys remember that this is a corset, and if is your choice to add a zip at the back or not. So for mine, I'm going to be using an eyelet. That is, I'm going to be using the loop for the back. So that's why you cannot see any zip allowance on there. Okay. So now go ahead and insert your shoulder allowance, which you can see me doing like this. And once you are done with that, you will go ahead and come in by 3 inches, because I want a little bit of space in between my loop for the back. Okay, I don't want it to come together. I really want a space on there, and that's why I'm trying to reduce the back by 3 inches. All right, so that is what you can actually see me doing right there. Now I want to create like a keyhole neckline at the back, and what I'm going to do is to come down from my neck depth that I have actually drafted out before. I'm going to come down by 1 inch, and then from the line of the yoke, that is from the point that I created my that I'm going to go in from the fold by 5 inches. Okay, that is how wide I want that keyhole to look. Okay, so I went in by 5 inches and I curved out that line to the 1 inch that I came down from the neckline. Okay, and that is what you can actually see me draw out right there. So if you don't want to mark this out at this point, you can actually leave that. Okay, once you are done cutting out or sewing in your yoke, you can cut this out before finally inputting your lining, that would be on your fabric. Okay, so as you can see, this is my back yoke, and then I'm going to go ahead and then curve this out a little, because I actually saw that it's kind of a little bit white. All right, and then I would cut this out. And yes, that is the style I chose for my back. You can decide to create any style of back yoke that you want. It all depends on your preference. Okay, so I'm going to place this side this yoke aside, and then I will trim out my back pattern. Okay, now you can see the 1/2 inch that I left on that side. Okay, this is because I don't want to start inputting my 1/2 inch allowance when I'm cutting on fabric, so I went ahead to just place it on the pattern paper. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out all these back pattern, and yes, this is what we have. I have the center back and my side back. Okay, as you can see me trying to label this. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and cut off the dots, and then I would label my side back, and then I will insert like an arrow showing that I'm going to join this to the side back. Okay, so and yeah, you guys, that will be all for this tutorial. You can see how it's looking. It actually came out perfectly well. Okay, so if you enjoy every bit of this tutorial, please do make sure to give this video a thumbs up. That will be how you are going to support this channel. If you have been watching my videos without subscribing, please at this moment, please subscribe to this channel to support my ministry. Okay, so you guys, I will see you in my next tutorial. If you do have any suggestion that you want to give me, please bring it on. All right guys, bye for now.